Hey guys, this is Garrett Wong, also known as Ensign Harry Kim from Star Trek Voyager, and you're watching Astronomy Live.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Stop.
Hi folks, welcome to Astronomy Live. Tonight we're going to be trying to track asteroid 1994 PC1. So I've got the camera and the SBIG ST2000 XCM attached to an Orion ST80 refractor, and it's riding piggyback on the 8-inch LX200. We're not using the big new telescope tonight. That would be massive overkill for an asteroid that is about 1 kilometer wide and going to be magnitude 10 or so tonight. So now I've just got to load up the orbital elements and point the telescope in the right direction. So stand by while I work on getting everything ready for tracking. Alright, so we have an asteroid. I might move it in the frame here a little bit. I'm doing a dark frame subtraction that'll get rid of the hot pixels and the defective column in there. The asteroid appears to be right here. I'm going to put a box right there for the moment. So, let's see. It should stay in the same place between these two images. Yep, it pretty much does. The other stars are moving, of course. I'm using NEOTraker to directly track the asteroid. So, I'm going to put in an input here and just see what the heck happens. I'm not sure if this is a good direction or bad direction to move in terms of getting it more centered. Let's see what happens here. Okay, I think that's the opposite way that I want to go. So I'm going to move 2 arc minutes and some change the other way. And let's see what happens. Now, you guys can't see what I'm doing there, but I'm just adjusting NEOTraker, putting in an input to offset the tracking position. So we'll see what happens. I just did another 2 arc minute correction and declination now. And let's see if I'm going the right way or the wrong way. Okay, that's kind of an okay way, but we need to go way more in right ascension then. Add another 2 arc minutes there. Yeah, we're going to need a lot more there. Let's go 5 arc minutes, 40 arc seconds. Actually, that would be, what am I saying? 10 arc minutes, 40 arc seconds in that direction. That should help. So this is an Orion ST80 we're imaging through, so chromatic aberration is a significant factor with this little refractor. It's a cheap achromat refractor, but it'll get the job done for tonight. Okay, so the asteroid, oh, it's right there. It's still kind of on the left side a little bit, so I'm going to go another 2 arc minutes in declination, put in another arc minute in right ascension, and see how that does. Probably need, let's go another 200 arc seconds in right ascension. Give it another big bump. Okay, so let's see here. Let me give you guys the view of the capture control so you can see the image download time. So, what do I have it set on right now? 10-second images. So we're getting a new image every 10 seconds. Okay, that moved it in a good direction. Give it another 5 arc minutes in that direction. We'll give it another arc minute in declination. This will be a pretty significant bump, I think. Yeah. So, let me zoom out. I don't want subframe. I just want to see the whole picture. Okay. So it's a little below center now. I think I can afford to go more in declination to center it up a bit. Let me give it a big bump in declination. Yeah, that's a good direction. Let's give it another 5 minutes in declination. Okay, and we have a super chat for $5 from High Plains Drifter. Love what you do here, including debunking flat earthers. Appreciate it. Thank you. The whole field shifted on that one. I'm not sure if I did something that I didn't want to do. Yeah, the asteroid's still right there. Let's give it another 10 minutes there and about 5 minutes there. So I'm going to try to shift it back towards the center a bit. Now, why have I lost it? Maybe I went too far? Come back up the other way. Might have gone and over-adjusted things. Or it's right in front of me and I'm just blind. That's entirely possible. Okay. I think the issue was I went too far in the wrong direction a bit. Yeah, okay. I see the problem. It's down in the lower left quadrant now. I went too far. Bring it on back. Okay, so it's still in the lower left. I'm going to bring it up more. Try to bring it more to the right. Oh, is that pushed it over to the left or to the... I think that pushed it over to the left. we gotta come back the other way. Okay, so I think that was the correct way to go. Or maybe it wasn't. We'll see. Okay. I zeroed out the declination. I think I was actually going the whole wrong way in declination the whole time. And that was my issue. I've actually gone back to default pointing on the declination, because I think that's pretty much right on. It's the right ascension that was a little off. And not by as much as I thought. Yeah, that's good. That's decent for now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the imaging for a second. I'm going to redesignate this so that I know that I'm now in the sequence of pointing where I actually want to point. And we'll restart the imaging at 10-second intervals. We'll zoom in on the asteroid. Alright, so there's the asteroid. 1 kilometer wide, missing Earth by a little over 5 times the distance to the moon tonight. And let's get our signpost going here. Right there. Alright, I'm going to leave this tracking. I'm going to fire up some food, and I'll be back later. So, for now, enjoy. Thanks for joining. Hi folks, I'm back. How's everyone doing in the chat tonight? I went and grilled some chicken and ate it. Looks like while I was doing that, SpaceX had a launch of some Starlink satellites. I assume everything went okay on that, because I'm pretty sure the chat would still be talking about it if it weren't. Ooh. Elon tweeted a picture of the Falcon crossing the moon. That's cool. Booster landed. Launch and landing was great. Good. Oh, they didn't show the deploy. Yeah, did they go to, did they do that south dogleg again from Florida? In any case, to give you guys a bit of an update here, we're not going to be streaming late into the night tonight. The asteroid's already getting low. We're at 34 degrees above horizon. Doesn't even feel like it to me, but just looking at the telescope, it looks like it's pitched kind of low. I'm sure if I go read the dial, it'll say 34, but doesn't have a huge amount of sky left to go before it hits the tree line anyway. Yeah. What do you know? The physical dial says 34 degrees. But yeah, this has been a nice asteroid to track. It's been a while since I've been able to break out NEOTraker. In fact, apparently it was the first time I've used this particular computer to run NEOTraker, because I found tonight I couldn't locate the source code on this PC. I had to re-download my own program from GitHub because it's on my other PC. But it's been running good. Keeping that asteroid pretty much in the same spot the whole time. Running off orbital elements from JPL Horizons. I think I saw somebody posting the link to JPL Horizons in the chat earlier while I was eating. I'll go ahead and pop that in the video description here if I can. There we go. Alright, that should be in the video description now, along with the link to the source code for NEOTraker. Oh, there we go. There it is in the chat again. I should point out that the new version of JPL Horizons, I think the default behavior is a little bit different than it used to be. Seems like it is, anyway. When I went to oscillating orbital elements, which is the ephemeris type you want for NEOTraker, the default settings for the table output were kilometers and seconds on the output units, and that is not what NEOTraker is expecting. It wants AU and days. So if you go to JPL Horizons, and actually let me just pull this up in a separate window and show you guys what I'm talking about. Let me pull this window up and share my screen so you can see what the heck I'm talking about. And while I do that, let me also point out, if you stick around here until the end, I will throw these images into the time-lapse machine and turn this into a quick and dirty time-lapse video. So, let's see. Okay. So if you go to JPL Horizons at the link, both in the video description or in the chat just now, I'll shrink this down a bit so we can still see the asteroid. Move this over here. Get it not to hide my logo. There we go. Okay, so that's better. So what do? So to get the orbital elements out of JPL Horizons for NEOTraker, you go to oscillating orbital elements like this, but then you need to edit the table settings. The default is now kilometers and seconds. I don't know if it was like that before. I don't think it was. I could be wrong, but I don't think that was the default in the old version. You want AU and days. That's what you want. And then use specified settings, and then change your target body. So in this case, we're looking at 1994 PC1. And then you can change your time. So you can specify the date that you want the orbital elements for. You want to pick the date and time of your planned observation. You want as close to that as possible, especially for a near-Earth asteroid, because NEOTraker will not compute perturbations. It will not perturb the orbits. It'll just run with whatever orbital elements you feed it, and it will assume that the orbit is unchanging, which of course is not the case when an asteroid is flying right by Earth. Earth's gravity will alter and bend that orbit in that trajectory, and NEOTraker is not going to account for that. So you want your orbital elements to reflect the current time, plus or minus a few hours, let's say, unless it's really, really close to Earth, in which case you probably want to update it maybe once an hour or something like that if it's really extreme. But for an asteroid like this passing about 5 times the distance from the moon, a few hours isn't going to make a huge difference. But in any case, you pick your time span there. You could just do 1 day and get 2 different days of orbital elements, whatever. Then you generate your orbital elements. You scroll down here. There they are. And all you have to do is just download the results and then load that file that it downloads into NEOTraker, and Bob's your uncle. You can go track. That's all there is to it. Is the image we're seeing rotated 180 degrees or flipped? Everything I find says it should be moving left to right, but we're seeing right to left here. Yes, it probably is flipped or rotated or something. I've got the SBIG straight into the refractor, and the SBIG itself is, I think, technically upside down, because it has to be. Otherwise it'll collide with the lower portion of the telescope. It's riding piggyback on the LX200. It's oriented the only way it can be, or else it'll hit the LX200. So I think it's technically upside down, though. So it's all kinds of goofy. Yeah, the orientation here is not necessarily true orientation. Using tracking from next remote, not having much luck. Yeah, did you... Oh, shoot. Did you make sure to... I'm sure you did. Did you make sure to align the telescope using next remote? Oh, image is not flipped because I was using a refractor. Yeah, that would normally probably be true. I think it's rotated. I think it's not necessarily flipped. It's probably just rotated. But I do have the camera kind of rotated upside down, like I said, for clearance issues from what it probably expects to be. So I'm guessing we are looking at a 180 degree rotated image. I mean, the fun thing about astronomical CCD cameras, they don't care. They don't have like a preferred orientation per se. You can rotate them freely, and the eyepiece drawer, for those who don't know. Like, it's just got a round nose piece. It'll slide into the telescope any which way you put it. It doesn't care. But the wires and cables are coming out of the top of the camera because of how it's rotated, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to go the other way around, technically speaking. It's just it won't fit that way. So yeah, I did ISS tracking this past weekend with the not the LX200, the 11-inch NextStar, which was really the first time I'd ever tracked the space station with my sat tracker program on a NextStar telescope. I've tracked other satellites with the NextStar and the sat tracker software. I've tested it plenty on the 4-inch NextStar, but I had never done that for an ISS pass in particular. And I had it had been a while, and I'd kind of forgotten that as soon as you fire up Next Remote, like, it overrode whatever alignment I had already done on the physical hand controller, and it started drifting everything out of view. And so I had to quickly sync it on, I think I was pointed at Jupiter or whatever. I told it, yeah, you're aligned on Jupiter, real quick, as Jupiter was trying to drift out of the field of view. I kept, like, adjusting it with the physical hand controller, and then quickly hit solar system align on Jupiter, and that was it. That was my alignment. I didn't do any other alignment to track ISS, so I was quite pleased that it worked as well as it did. I mean, it worked fantastic, really, considering the alignment was so rough. Seeing trees now, that's probably it for you. Yeah, it's getting low. It's, it's in the 30 degrees area. It'll be hitting the trees before too long for me as well. And I'm gonna wrap it up here pretty soon. It's pretty chilly out here. But before I wrap it up, I am gonna do a whole time-lapse video of the images that we've taken tonight. We've taken over 400 images, so that's gonna be quite a nice little time-lapse. Aligned on the laptop with 3 Next Remote on Algenib and Hamal. Similar, star groupings and your images in mine. Okay, well, you're probably pointing at the right area. Maybe the camera's just not picking it up, which honestly is a bit surprising to me. It's magnitude 10, but it is moving quickly. That's not to be ignored, because as it moves quickly, it's going to move on to a new set of pixels every few seconds. So it may actually be tricky for a smaller scope to pick it up, trickier than you would think for magnitude 10, because there's not enough time for the light to accumulate in any individual pixel unless you're doing direct tracking. So maybe it's time I ported NEOTraker to NextStar telescopes. I don't think... I have to check. I don't think I have a version for NextStar scopes. Oh, no, I do. Oh, it's supposed to work with ASCOM. It theoretically should work with NextStar. I haven't tested it. I'll say that. In theory, it works. In practice, I have no clue. Yeah, so full disclosure, NEOTraker has only ever been tested on my LX200. The command set is quite different for ASCOM, and while it, UFO Tracker and Sat Tracker do a fantastic job tracking satellites and rockets and things like that on ASCOM, this is a very different beast in terms of trying to track an asteroid. This is a much slower moving object than, say, a satellite. Even though you can see how quickly it's moving relative to the stars, but that's still a lot slower than your typical satellite tracking. So precision is the key, and I haven't really validated everything on that end of things. Should probably do that sometime. Don't have time for it tonight, unfortunately, but that would be a nice test at some point. Seeing a lot of chromatic aberration now. Yeah, it's an achromat. It's not anything fancy. I picked this little refractor up for about $100 years ago on Orion telescopes, so definitely affordable. Low altitude distortion, I mean, there's some of that too, probably, but the lens itself is of frankly poor quality. I mean, you get what you pay for. It's $100. What do you want? Um, it's got a lot of chromatic aberration, just naturally. It's really intended as a guide scope. It does a fine job as a guide scope. And in a pinch, if you're on a budget, yes, you can do wide field imaging like this with it. But to the trained eye, it's not pretty. But in any case, if you get a computerized tripod mount and made some brackets, could you swap telescopes? Yeah, you could. I'm not sure what you mean by make some brackets. Like, depends on the mount you're intending to put it on as to how tricky that's going to be or how easy that's going to be. With the NextStar mounts, for example, not the 11-inch GPS, that's a whole different beast. That's a dual fork arm design that's got screws going in holes in particular spacing and all that. It's designed for just that telescope too, really. It's not designed to hold anything you want to slap in there. It's really designed just for that 11-inch Celestron scope. But the smaller NextStars, like the NextStar 8, the NextStar 6, even the NextStar 4, you can swap out the optical tube, and I've done that before. I popped this actual refractor, the 80mm Orion refractor. I've put that on the 4-inch NextStar mount. It will do that if you have a dovetail plate for it. So what you want is like a Vixen style plate that you can put into the slot for the telescope on the mount. The NextStar mount has like this dovetail bracket thing, and it's, I think, designed to work with Vixen style mounts. If I want to, yeah, I think that's right. I think it's Vixen. And I had one. Actually, a former coworker gave me some old junk to him that he didn't need anymore. Some random, just very random parts for astronomy. Some eyepieces that were, actually some of those were pretty nice, but some other random parts. And one of the things was it was a pair of brackets for a refractor, and it also had a Vixen style plate associated with it, but no telescope. But it was just this bracket set and Vixen plate, and it finally found use. I put it on the refractor that I have, and that Vixen plate would allow it to attach to the NextStar mount. I could take the 4-inch Maxitov out of the mount and replace it with the Orion refractor. Yeah, just depends on what you want to put in there, I guess. You want to be careful about that, though. Like the 4-inch mount definitely is a tighter fit, and some scopes, including this one, will have like altitude limits depending on how long they are. If you've got the focus tube out there and you've got a star diagonal out there hanging out there, it can collide with the mount depending on how you've attached it. And certainly any longer scopes, that's going to be the case. The 4-inch Maxitov is a very compact design, so it's designed to clear the fork arm. The telescope will clear the mount, but it's a very compact design. Anything elongated is going to present an issue if you go above about 50 or 60 degrees. So that's a serious issue you got to watch out for on some of these smaller mounts. The 6 or 8-inch, it's the same. I think it's the same mount for both the 6 and the 8-inch NextStar. They have a much better clearance. So, for example, that's what Red's Rhetoric has done with his. Is he's put that it's actually the same the same Vixen plate that I had that he's used with the bracket to hold the camera. for filming launches, and so that'll ride on the Nexstar 6 SE mount. So in terms of any issues with that, you have to watch out for payload capacity. That's one thing. You know, are you going to put a really big, heavy scope in there? If it'll even fit, you know, that could be an issue in terms of payload capacity and balance. Balance is key. You want to balance your telescope. If you don't balance your telescope, you're going to wear down the gears faster. You're going to burn up the motors. That'll be a problem for you. So always make sure your telescope is balanced. I've got counterweights on mine right now, with the Orion and the SBIG sitting on there. I've got counterweights on it. It's kind of a homemade counterweight system. The new 11-inch Celestron, I bought a counterweight system for that one, and I've tested it and made sure it's properly balanced. If the telescope is properly balanced, it should pretty much sit, you know, in any orientation you put it in, and it should be very easy. You should be able to move it with one finger, and it shouldn't swing to one side or the other, obviously. And if you do that, the motors will be much happier and have a much better time. The tricky bit with that is that if you have a smaller telescope like say the 4-inch Maxitov, there's not necessarily a wide array of commercial equipment designed to work with it. And so you may not find an off-the-shelf solution for counterweights or things like that. You may have to engineer your own solution. Yeah, definitely check your images out. Maybe you caught something on a time lapse. It's possible. Okay, yeah, as long as you got a mount that can handle the payload capacity, I mean, that's always good. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. Tell you what, when we hit 450 images, we'll call it good, and then I'll let it continue taking images while I dump what we currently have into a time lapse. I can't wait to find out how much of my hard drive space I just consumed taking 450 images of this asteroid. I don't normally take that many subs in one night. Okay, what have I done to my hard drive? Okay, only 1.74 gigs, but I am running out of space on this drive. I'm going to have to free up some space. Yeah, I'm down to 10 gigabytes on this drive. It's a pretty small solid-state drive on this laptop. It's not really intended for permanent storage. So I'm just going to do the current run of images, the 400-something images that we have been doing on this current run after I repositioned everything and got the asteroid where I wanted it. Alignment, no alignment. So this will be a quick and dirty time lapse. This will not be flat field calibrated. So dust motes on the CCD are going to show up in it. When I tear down tonight, I will take flat field images and I will use that for proper calibration at the very end. So hopefully sometime by tomorrow or sometime tomorrow, I will have posted a fully calibrated time lapse on the channel, so stay tuned for that. But this will be a nice taste of what's to come once I get them all stacked here. Well, yeah, it's stacking, but really I'm registering and debayering the images right now. So the images are saved as raw FITS files, and there's no I mean, there's information in the FITS file about what type of camera was used, but they're not debayered, and so you have to debayer the images and create a 3-channel image for other software to know how to work with the picture, because it's just raw data, raw pixel data, and there's a matrix of color filters over each of the pixels that allow you to create a color image. So there's a whole debayering process that you have to go through. So it's doing that right now. It's debayering the images, and then I'll pop them into a directory for processing into a time lapse. Oof, your mount's right ascension is warped. Because your 200mm telescope, Kaiser Cube's 200mm telescope, over time has warped it. This year I'm raising the money needed for an NEQ6 Pro or equivalent mount. Wow. Well, good luck with that. I hope you're able to get that fixed. Oh, we have that. Yeah, there's a bad column right in the middle of the CCD that pops up. You can see it there in these latest images. Hope it hasn't been doing that throughout the night. I guess I'm about to find out, but dark frames do subtract it, but sometimes it starts to come back a little bit. Oh, there it goes. It's gone now. I have 2 of these SBIG cameras. I bought this one as a replacement for the old one when I thought it was dying. Turns out it was really the computer that was just messing it up. Something about my older computer, it's just incompatible with this type of camera. Something about Windows. Oh, it doesn't like that, does it? Ooh. Okay. Alright, I'm going to stop taking images at this point, because I see what's happening now. It's weird. It's like it's something to do with having sufficient processing overhead. Yeah, I'm going to stop taking images there. So, something about this camera, it's crazy. When the computer running it doesn't have enough horsepower left over from whatever it's doing. I didn't mean to do that. Go away. Okay. It tends to create this Venetian blinds effect in the images, and it tends to just mess things up real bad. But the new computer, this computer that I'm using, doesn't do that. It typically, I should say, doesn't do that. Because normally it's got way... It seems like it's because it's got way more than enough horsepower to handle it. Maybe it's something to do with the speed at which it's receiving the data from the camera and the ability to write to disk fast enough or something. I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, if things aren't right, then it will result in permanently damaged or corrupted image data. So, there's that. But now that I'm stacking, I'm basically running the computer all out. It's accessing the hard drive very quickly and pulling up the images and calibrating them and stacking them and all this stuff. And it's working as hard as it can to do that. So it seems like that started to corrupt the images. I'll have to keep an eye out on that. I may eliminate the last few images from the time lapse if they're corrupted. It makes for really ugly sort of flashing in the time lapse, and I've come up with a way around that to better calibrate the images, but still. Oh yeah, and I forgot, the whole time I've also been alt-aligned. I did not polar align tonight because what was the point? I'm tracking an asteroid, right? It's moving quickly. These are short exposures. Don't need to go to the length of polar aligning. Unnecessary. So, alright, let me stop the tracking. It doesn't need to track the asteroid anymore. Alright, now I'm going to take the registered and calibrated image. Well, they're not really registered, but they're calibrated such that they're... debayered. I'm going to take the debayered images, put them in a separate directory. Okay. So that's another gigabyte consumed. Alright, now... Now I'm going to take my time-lapse program, pop it in that directory, and run it. Did I do that again? No, I guess it's... I need to check. I'm not entirely confident that I'm not dealing with a situation here where I'm flipping the color channels again. I don't like it when it does that. Okay, no, that's normal. Oh, we did have a satellite go through there. And another. Okay, I'm just making sure the color balance is correct. Looks like it is. Oh, the LX70 R80 was discontinued because this was a major problem. Meade only sells the LX70 mount with the R6. Oh, the 6-inch. Yeah. Oh, the LX70 R8. I see. Yeah, I haven't seen any LX70s in a while. Yeah, Meade went through Chapter 11. They've been circling, to be honest, they've been circling the drain for a while now. Which is a shame, because they have such great potential. And they drop the ball way too often. I mean, I really want them to succeed well, but I guess it says something that I've been a Meade fanboy for so long, and now, what have I just acquired? I've just acquired a Celestron. I've gone to the dark side. Yeah, there's no turning back now. Forever will it dominate my destiny. Forget Chapter 11. I now have a C11. Oh, that was a lame joke. Okay. Well, anyway. Yeah, I guess... So which one is the asteroid? Well, you'll see in a minute. We'll have the time lapse ready in a second. Right now I'm zoomed down on the last picture the camera took. I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head. I think I know which one it is, but I'm not going to bother labeling it at the moment because we'll have the time lapse ready here in just a second. And I should point out, so this time-lapse is calibrating these images in such a way that it's accounting for the median brightness of the image, which is basically the noise level. But it's also the background sky pollution level, sort of light pollution level. And that gets brighter as the asteroid gets lower in the sky. And so you may see the asteroid consistently dimming through the course of the time lapse. Theoretically, a small portion of that is due to it getting further away, but not as rapidly as it'll probably look in the time lapse. A lot of that is probably being driven instead by what I just said, by the fact that you're calibrating these images for the median light level in the image, which is driven primarily by light pollution, sky glow, all of that. And that is getting consistently brighter, but you're calibrating to that level, and so everything else looks like it's getting dimmer in the resulting time lapse. I'm guessing that's what I'm going to see here. Ooh, that looks cool. You can kind of see how the motors are dancing around a little bit. This is open loop tracking, of course. It's not seeing where the asteroid is in the images, and it's not guiding on that. It's just tracking it based on the expected orbital elements and the expected position of the asteroid. And like I said, it definitely looks like you can see it dimming over the course of the night, but that's mostly artifactual of the increasing background light level. Okay, we'll call this 1994 PC1, just so I know what video this is. Okay, we're going to add that file. So give me just a second, and we'll have that ready. Here we go. Yeah, I think this is a pretty cool result here, guys. Let me, sorry, I'm messing it up here. I'm trying to blow it up. There we go. Okay. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that result. You can really see it there looking greenish thanks to the chromatic aberration. But you can really see it there holding pretty steady in the center of the image, kind of dancing back and forth under the effects of the periodic error of the drives, but being tracked pretty darn well. You'll also notice the star trails going from left to right, but they start to bend a little bit due to field rotation over the course of the night of shooting this asteroid. Oh, I'm glad you guys like that. Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with that. I really can't complain. I mean, yeah, there's chromatic aberration and all that good stuff. I ran the camera warm tonight because I popped in some new desiccant right before I set up, but that wasn't enough time. And sure enough, it was still frosty in there. When I tried to chill it down to sub-zero, I got ice forming on the CCD, so I had to warm it back up. This is my backup camera. This is not the SBIG I normally use, so I don't keep it recharged as often with fresh desiccant, not as often as I should, but so the noise level is probably a little higher than it should be, but that's not bad. That's really not bad. So that full disclosure, well, just for your information, full disclosure for your information, that was 447 light frames from tonight, starting at 1:09 a.m. Universal Time, which was, is that right? That's, gosh, I can't do the math in my head. No, that's 8:09 p.m. Eastern Time. So 1:09 a.m. Universal Time, 8:09 p.m. Eastern Time, and going till 3:15 a.m. Universal Time, which, gosh, would have been 10:15. Is that right? Trying to do the math in my head on the fly again. Yeah, that would have been 7:22. Yeah, 10:15. Yeah, that makes sense because it's 10:32 now. 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So about 2 hours, 6 minutes is the time span that covers. Yeah, and so the other little pixels that aren't moving at all, those are hot pixels. And the dead giveaway is they're not moving at all. Some of them turn on and turn off a little bit. They're transient a bit, some of them. There's a lot more hot pixels on the camera that were subtracted by the dark frame. But new ones will pop up that weren't in the dark frame for reference. And you'll see them popping in and out. But you can tell they're artifactual because they're not... no, excuse me. They're not moving at all. Even the asteroid is dancing back and forth a little bit from the motor's slightly imperfect tracking. And so that's what it looks like. I mean, ironically, although I'm tracking the asteroid directly, this is technically unguided imaging because I'm not guiding on the asteroid or anything else. It's just, well, like I said before, open loop tracking. Commands are going into the telescope, output is coming out, but that is not feeding back into the input to close the loop. And so you're just sort of hoping that the telescope is doing what it's supposed to do as far as tracking the asteroid, which it was. But there's always going to be a little bit of error there from the gears not being perfectly round, and so they wobble a little bit back and forth. But the hot pixels don't. They stay with the camera. Now, if you stabilize this by aligning these images on the asteroid so the asteroid is perfectly stationary, well, then of course the hot pixels will appear to wobble and they will have the exact same motion that you're seeing right now with the asteroid, only it'll be all the hot pixels moving, which honestly I think would be more distracting in the end. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to register these on the asteroid. I could, but I'm not going to bother because I think in the end that would actually make the final product a little harder to interpret for the layperson. Here it's very clear what the asteroid is. I think it is anyway. Yeah, you'll get there. It's kicking me right. I'm kicking myself right now that I haven't really had a chance to fully test NEOTraker under a Nexstar mount. Next time we get an asteroid passing close like this that's real visible to smaller aperture scopes, I'll break out the Nexstar 4-inch and track that as well. You know, we got something there. Gosh, let me look back one more time in the frame. So might have got a plane flying through again tonight. One of those things looked like it wasn't quite a satellite, like it was something more substantial. There was definitely other stuff like a satellite. There was one that was rotating. I would say it was rotating rapidly. Maybe you could describe it as tumbling. The brightness was varying over the course of the image, and it was in multiple images. Probably... Oh, we did get a plane. Yeah, we did. We sure did. Oh, that's cool. That is image 101. I can pull that one up specifically. Let me pull that up specifically. I'll pull up a single frame here. Image 101. Where are you? Yeah, we caught a plane once again. This one would have been probably... Well, I can't say that necessarily. They're not necessarily low over the horizon. This is early in the evening, relatively speaking. Alright, show me... I want the numbers here. Why did it skip? Why does it skip to 110? What's going on here? Oh, I see. Okay, so it may not be the number I thought it was because reasons. Yeah, because it's PC1 101 or something like that. Okay, so it's actually 158. Got it. Got it. Okay, 158. Yeah, the number sequences are a little bit different for my JPEGs than they are for my FITS images. That's the issue. But here we go. Yeah. There's a plane streaking through. Doesn't look much like a plane, but what you're seeing there... let's get that underneath the logo. Oh, come on. Underneath the logo. There we go. So what you're seeing here is the strobe light is that orangish reddish looking thing in the middle, and you get reflections. You tend to get reflections of the strobe off the cowlings of the engines, and that's what the other two little red things are on either side of that. And then on the far side you have the red and green navigation lights on the wings of the plane, and then you occasionally have a white strobe that goes off inside those, and you can see that actually going off as it's streaking through the image. So it flies through the image very, very quickly. And so even the strobe, which is a very brief flash, turns into a bit of a streak there as it's going through. So that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, you can even tell which side is starboard and port by the colors. That's right. And of course, as I mentioned before, like the whole camera's rotated at 180 degrees, so it was really going the other way. But nevertheless, pretty cool. So that is gonna do it for tonight. Thank you all for joining me. I certainly enjoyed getting these pictures of 1994 PC1. In fact, I dare say, like, these exposures were so short, the flat field subtraction, it's not really necessary. Like, I'm not seeing dust motes or gradients here for the most part. I'm really not seeing that. I don't think it's even worth taking flat fields. I'm just going to tear down, and I'll upload this video as is, pretty much. I think this looks good as is. So I'll upload this to the channel as a separate upload, so stay tuned for that. But thanks, everyone, for coming out and watching with me as we witnessed 1994 PC1 heading away from Earth after a close approach today. Until next time, clear skies, folks.